Apologize to yourself. Apologize to the people in your life that need apologizing to. Ask for forgiveness. Ask God, ask the universe for forgiveness, whatever higher power you believe in. And then move forward. Take that first step and set your intention to say, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but this new moon in Scorpio is saying, I'm going to set my intention to be vulnerable again. I'm going to set my intention to be intimate again. I'm going to set the intention to go deep with someone again in a way that makes me feel completely and utterly exposed. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know when I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to set my intention right now to do it. And I'm going to ask for my spirits, my angels, spirit guides, all that to help me. Welcome to the weekly transit, your guide to understanding the current planetary and astral alignments. Together, we'll explore how to harness these cosmic frequencies, empowering you to reach your highest potential as you navigate the days ahead. I'm your host, Scott Tajarian. Welcome to the weekly transit. This is the week of November 17th to the 23rd, where we will be covering this week. This might be a record. I can't remember ever. Maybe I'd have to go back over the last 5-6 years, but this is rare. We're going to be covering 14 transits this week, highlighted by the new moon in Scorpio, Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio, and then the sun transiting into Sagittarius. But 14 transits this week. That is a lot. And last week, we got a little bit of a break. I think last week we only covered, there was only like 4 or 5 transits to go over, which was highlighted by the Grand Water Trine, which is still occurring at the beginning of this week. So if you didn't listen to last week's episode and you want to learn about this very rare Grand Water Trine that is occurring between Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, and the Sun in Scorpio, the end of last week, the beginning of this week, go back and listen to last week's episode. There's a lot of information about what that means, and that was the highlighted essay of the week for my Substack, is talking about this very unique Grand Trine, which I think it hadn't occurred in over 3,300 years with the sun in Scorpio. So very special alignments occurring right now. If you're feeling it, if you're feeling tension, this Grand Water Trine, just to give you an overview, if you don't want to go back and listen to the whole episode last week, is, it's about going within and reflecting upon your past, delving into your psychological baggage, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame that you're holding over your head, especially in terms of how that reflects to those that you are most vulnerable with, your intimate relationships. Are you feeling lifted or are you feeling drained? The energy this week is going to deepen. It's going to intensify, especially with 14 transits. Prior to last week, the 4 weeks prior to last week, we covered at least 9, if not 10 transits, which was a lot to experience during a 4-week period. And then we got a little bit of a break last week, and now we're ramping up again this week. So buckle up, lean in. This is not the time to try to avoid what you are feeling. It's a time to really engage and acknowledge it, because the universe God, whatever higher power you believe in, it feels like right now we're being invited to level up, to adapt to the new energy at hand. Like when you think about your phone, let's say, and your phone is wanting to update its operating system. If you don't update the operating system over a certain amount of time, then the phone doesn't work in the way that you're accustomed to, that it's meant to. So these planets they're constantly working with us, but we need to work with them. We need to agree to the update. But they're wanting to update our operating system as we raise to higher consciousness. You're not the same person you were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even a week ago. You've learned something new, you've grown, you've evolved, and this is a hyper week of, like, we're being thrown into like a hyperdrive. It's like, okay, here we go. So let's just dive into it here, because I've got the Substack essay of the week. And that's not even one of the highlighted transits, though I guess it should be a highlighted transit, which is Uranus retrograde in Taurus, sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces at 29th degree, the anaretic degree. This is very unique. This is very special, and that's going to be the Substack essay of the week at the end of the episode. But let's dive right in. The first transit of the week is Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, sextile Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this is an aspect that we already experienced once when Mercury transited into Sagittarius. So that was back on, let me pull up my notes here. I should have these ready. I'm so sorry. My dearest and deepest apologies. October 30th. So this is a transit we already experienced on October 30th. When Mercury was direct, it formed a sextile with Pluto in Aquarius. Now Mercury is retrograde, about to retrograde back into Scorpio, and as it does, it's going to form another sextile with Pluto in Aquarius. And then this happens for a third time right before Mercury transits back into Sagittarius. That's going to be on December 13th. So take note, think back. What was going on October 30th? What is going on right now on November 17th? And then when we get to December 13th, think about what is occurring there and try to connect the dots in terms of the themes of this transit. So Mercury is the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, coordination, the god of merchants and thieves. Mercury is transiting through Sagittarius, which is the mutable fire sign symbolized by the archer and ruled by Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion. When Mercury transits through Sagittarius, it's like the truth is revealed, and the truth hurts, and then the truth will set you free. And so maybe whatever truth came out on October 30th is now beginning to set you free. Hopefully by December 13th, you are free, and because you've been able to integrate what that truth means. So this is the second time this transit is occurring of the three. It's like our second act. This is the point where you see the character struggling with the truth. You watch any great film, and the torture, the main character is tortured in the second act. It's like, oh God, it's like something happens in the first act that throws off their life, and then in the second act they have to deal with what threw them off, what threw them off their center. And then by the time we get to the third act, there's a resolution, and hopefully it's a happy ending for all of us. But Pluto is the god of death, lord of the underworld. So you have Mercury, which is guide of souls to the underworld, aligning with Pluto, which is lord of the underworld. Pluto is transiting through Aquarius. Aquarius is the fixed air sign symbolized by the water bear and ruled by Saturn, the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction and responsibility, and Uranus, the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution. So as Mercury aligned with Pluto back on October 30th, maybe something was revealed within the group construct of your lives. It could be a group that you're a part of, a friend group. It could be a work group. It could be a church group, any sort of group that you're a part of, any organization that you're a part of. Maybe some sort of truth was revealed there that threw you off your center. But you even though it threw you off, like because of the sextile, maybe you realize like, this is what I needed to hear. This is what I needed to find out. Maybe you were the one that was sharing the truth with somebody else. Maybe it wasn't just somebody sharing the truth with you. It was you sharing the truth to someone else, and it threw them off their center, but they realized that it's what they needed to hear. And so now here we are on November 17th as we're retrograding back. It's a reflection period. We're reflecting on what occurred on October 30th and around that date and everything that led up to what occurred right around October 30th. We're integrating that right now. We're reflecting, and we're trying to be honest with ourselves and with those around us within the group construct to integrate the truth. So that is the first transit of the week, really hitting strong in that first transit. So the second transit is Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio. So Mercury retrogrades back into Scorpio on November 19th. That is Wednesday, November 19th. That is Woden's Day. Woden is the Old Norse god associated with the Roman god Mercury. To my Spanish-speaking friends, you know this is miércoles, Mercurio. You can see how the planets are named for the days, or the days are named for the planets, rather. And so this happens on Wednesday, November 19th. Mercury is going to continue its retrograde transit back to 20 degrees Scorpio, and then it ends its retrograde on November 29th. It transits out of Scorpio and back into Sagittarius on December 11th. So from November 19th to December 11th, Mercury is retrograding back from 29 to 20 degrees and then forward from 20 to 29 degrees. So really look at what's occurring in your astrological code, at around anywhere between 20 and 29 degrees in the water signs, in the earth signs, in the fixed signs. This is going to tell you where you may be feeling greater power or greater challenges with communication. If it's aligning with a water or earth sign, perhaps you're feeling greater power. Not necessarily, but potentially. It's all how you're working with the energy. And even if it's aligning with one of the fixed signs, there's tension there potentially, but it can also be that tension that you need to move you through the difficult conversations that you've been needing to have, that you've been wanting to have in your intimate relationships, because that's what it's about when Mercury's in Scorpio. For anyone who's born with Mercury in Scorpio, you like to get deep. You want to get deep in those conversations. It's not about small talk. It's not about the weather. You want to know what makes somebody tick. And so with Mercury transiting retrograde through Scorpio and then back direct through Scorpio from November 19th to December 11th, this is the time to have those deep conversations. For those of you who don't like the deep conversations, who just want to keep things light and the small talk, and you want to talk about the weather and the sports and what's happening with Sally and Jim and that sort of stuff, you're going to be drawn into some deeper areas. You're going to learn what it's like to be born with Mercury in Scorpio. So just lean into that. Lean into the potentially difficult conversations, because they're the conversations that you need to have in order to clear the energy that's stuck. Remember that Scorpio rules the colon, and we don't want to be constipated. We don't want to be constipated in any way, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. This is about clearing the constipation. So what are the areas within your intimate relationships that feel stagnant? You feel like they're not moving, like you're in the swamp. And it doesn't feel good to be in the swamp. It's icky, it's yucky, it's dirty, it's messy. Like, get me out of here. I want the clean water. So we gotta drain the swamp. We gotta clear the swamp. We gotta, we want the crystal clear water. And so we gotta get to the bottom of where the muck is. And we've got to have those difficult conversations so that we don't feel drained by the ones that we love the most. And so that the ones that we love the most don't feel drained by us. Okay. So, the third transit of the week, the new moon in Scorpio. So this is happening the same day that Mercury transits back into Scorpio, Wednesday, November 19th. The new moon is occurring at 28 degrees Scorpio. This is the Cancer degree, which is very, very interesting and very appropriate because Cancer rules the past. It's your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors, your bloodline, it's your past lives, even, especially when you bring in Scorpio. Now, what's interesting about it is this new moon in Scorpio aligns with Mercury Retrograde. And Mercury Retrograde is going to retrograde back to 29 degrees Scorpio. And then by the time the new moon happens at 10:58 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so for those of you on the East Coast or, in other parts of the world, this is happening on Thursday, November 20th. Depending on where you are. But for me, on the West Coast, California, it's 10:48 p.m. By the time this new moon occurs, Mercury will be back at 28 degrees. So we're going to have Mercury, the sun, and the moon all at 28 degrees Scorpio. This is interesting. So I don't know if you remember last year when the last three new moons of 2024 and the first three new moons of 2025 were at 27 degrees, which was interesting because 2025, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. So it's like the last three moons of 2024 were preparing us for 2025, and the first three moons of 2025 were helping us integrate the energy of 2025. Well, we have this gift again because the last three moons of 2025 are at 28 degrees, and the first three moons of 2026 are at 28 degrees. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1, and 28 degrees, 2 plus 8 is 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. So these last three new moons of 2025 are helping us prepare for 2026, and the first three moons of 2026 are helping us integrate that new energy so that we can start fresh, because that's what one is about. It's about a fresh start. It's about something new. It's the first number. It's 1. Where do you begin? At 1. You don't start counting at 17. You start counting at 1. But wait a second, 17? That's so weird that No, yeah, that'd be an 8. Okay, so I'm tripping myself out. So what's interesting about this with Mercury retrograde at 28 degrees, the sun and the moon at 28 degrees in Scorpio, it's helping us reflect upon the past, the origins of our intimate bonds, so that we can start fresh, so that we can clear the past, clear all of the thoughts. Who out there hasn't had their heart broken? I mean, is there anyone? Hello? Are you out there? I don't know anyone who hasn't had their heart broken. Even the person who's like, oh my God, I've been married to my high school sweetheart. We were together for 50 years. They've had their heart broken sometime in that relationship. And maybe it wasn't that relationship. Maybe it was with a friend or a parent. We've all had our heart broken, I think. If you've never had your heart broken, please reach out. I want to hear from you. I'm really curious to hear your story. But for the majority of us, I believe, who have had our hearts broken, when you have your heart broken, it's a long road back. It's a long road back to recovery, to trusting, to having that ability to take off your clothes again, to share your secrets again, to get close to somebody, and again that makes you, that allows you to feel safe when you are vulnerable. I mean, it's not easy. And it feels like this new moon in Scorpio at 28 degrees, which is the Cancer degree. Mercury retrograde. Retrograde is reflection, recalibration, reloading, all the reviewing. That's what retrograde's about. And then Cancer is about the past. So this is about reflecting upon the past of your intimate relationships and thinking about how those relationships that broke your heart rewired your brain to be on edge, to say, I can never do this. I will never be in love again. I will be single for the rest of my life. I've been there. And before I met Gabriella, it'd been 10 years. 10 years since I had been in a serious relationship. 10 years since I'd really been in any relationship. I didn't even really date for 10 years. I mean, went on like 5 dates in 10 years. Not easy. And about a week or a month before I met Gabriella, I told my therapist, you know what? I'm happily single. And if I spend the rest of my life in my 1-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood, I'll be happy. And that's when I met Gabriella and my whole life changed. But through that process of meeting her and connecting with her, it's like I had to rewire my brain. I had to get through all these blocks that I'd put up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, to protect myself from that pain that I had felt in my previous relationships. And this new moon in Scorpio is saying, let's start over. Let's start over. Whether you're with somebody that you love, that you've fallen out of love with, or you're dealing with strain in that relationship, or you're single and you've vowed to never be in a relationship again, whatever your circumstances are, this new moon in Scorpio is a time to start over. And it's a time to start over in terms of what it means to be intimate. It's a time to reflect upon the wounds that have occurred in your past, the broken hearts, the shame, the pain, all the difficult moments that have made you feel unworthy of love. This is saying, do you have the courage to review? Do you have the courage to really reflect upon all the thinking about the swamp? Like, do you have the courage to dive down to the bottom of the swamp and see what's there? Because there's a monster there. That Loch Ness monster is lurking at the bottom of the swamp. Do you have the courage to face it? To love it? To show it love? The Scorpio new moon is inviting us to dive down into those deep areas. And, let's not forget to, I don't want to jump ahead too far, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but, your Uranus is at 29 degrees in Taurus. And Neptune is at 29 degrees in Pisces. And they're both aligning with this new moon in Scorpio and Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. Uranus is retrograde. Neptune is retrograde. Uranus is helping you revolutionize your values, your self-worth. Neptune is helping you reimagine the dream, to face the demon in the deep, the guilt, the demons, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame. If only I'd done this differently, then my life would be perfect. Everything would have worked out, but I did this one thing that changed everything, and I ruined it. I doubt that there's a person out there that hasn't felt that way or thought that way. But I'll just speak for myself. I've thought that. I've felt that. I think that and feel that. It's not like, I'm healed and everything is great now. Happily ever after is Scott's life. No. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. The tide rolls in, the tide rolls out. Everything ebbs and flows in life. There is no happily ever after. There's, this was a good day, or this was a bad day. I feel good right now, I'm in a good period, or I'm in a bad period. We have to learn how to manage the ups and downs. Because the ups are going to come, we don't want to get too high. The downs are going to come, we don't want to get too low. And part of the way that we can do this is to spend time, especially during this new moon, and going deep within ourselves and say, what's going on down there? What am I afraid of? What pain am I hiding from? What fears am I hiding from? Let's spend some time there. Because it's spending time there that will help you transform the energy, and that's what Scorpio is all about. It's about transformation. It's about the phoenix rising. It's about curling up into that ball, that fetal position. Feeling all alone in the world. Nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. I don't matter. It's about being able to be in that moment and say, but I love you anyway. Even though I think that nobody cares about me, nobody loves me. I love you. Talking to yourself. It's not an easy thing to do. But as we move to the end of 2025, we've got to shed the dead skin. And this new moon in Scorpio is helping us do that with the support of Mercury retrograde, with the support of Uranus in Taurus, with the support of Neptune in Pisces, with the support of Saturn in Pisces, which is just 3 degrees away as well. It's saying, let's take responsibility for ourselves. So if you're feeling the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame, take responsibility for it. Yeah, I messed up. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Apologize to yourself. Apologize to the people in your life that need apologizing to. Ask for forgiveness. Ask God, ask the universe for forgiveness, whatever higher power you believe in. And then move forward. Take that first step and set your intention to say, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but this new moon in Scorpio is saying, I'm going to set my intention to be vulnerable again. I'm going to set my intention to be intimate again. I'm going to set the intention to go deep with someone again in a way that makes me feel completely and utterly exposed. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know when I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to set my intention right now to do it. And I'm going to ask for my spirits, my angels, spirit guides, all that to help me. The fourth transit of the week and the fifth transit of the week, continuing along this theme, involve Mercury Retrograde in Scorpio, forming an opposition to Uranus retrograde in Taurus, and a trine to Neptune retrograde in Pisces. These aspects are occurring from Tuesday to Thursday, with the exact opposition and trine occurring on Wednesday during the new moon in Mercury's retrograde conjunction with the moon and the sun. So I might as well throw that transit in there too, because Mercury is going to be conjunct with the sun. That's from Wednesday to Friday, from November 19th to the 21st, with the exact conjunction occurring on November 20th. This is coupled with Venus in Scorpio, forming a trine with the North Node retrograde in Pisces. That's at 15 degrees. That's at 15 degrees. That's the Gemini degree. And that occurs from Monday to Thursday, with the exact trine on Wednesday, November 19th. So I just dumped. I'm going to dump more. Yeah, because these are all together. So there's also the sun in Scorpio opposing Uranus retrograde in Taurus and forming a trine with Neptune retrograde in Pisces. That's from November 19th to the 22nd, Wednesday to Saturday. Those aspects with the sun opposite Uranus and trine Neptune occur exact on Friday, November 21st. So I just dumped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 transits in your lap. 7 transits all happening in accordance like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Just bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. So, relationships are coming in hot or cold or deep or intense this week. Now, let's break this off bit by bit. I dumped a lot in your lap here, but we're going to go bit by bit, and we're going to bring it all together and help it make sense. So, with Mercury, just as it formed that aspect early in the week with Pluto, and is the second time it's done it recently, the same is the case for Mercury aligning with Neptune. So Mercury aligned with Neptune in Pisces. That was back on October 29th. It then formed an opposition to Uranus, but at that point Mercury was in Sagittarius and Uranus was in Gemini. That was also on October 29th. So the date I gave you earlier with the first transit was October 30th. So there is a lot happening the end of October. There's a lot happening now, and then these are all going to pop back up again because Mercury will form that opposition to Uranus retrograde in Taurus, and the trine to Neptune in Pisces. That will happen on December 10th and 11th, which is right before it aligns with Pluto on December 13th. So think about it just like this to keep it simple. End of October, middle of November, middle of December. End of October, middle to late November, early to middle December. See what the thread is there. I'm curious to hear from you if something comes up, especially once we get to December and how these are all sort of culminating. But it's doing the deep work. Mercury is consciousness, and the opposition to Uranus is saying, you think of Uranus in Taurus, it's revolutionizing our self-worth and values. So Mercury in Scorpio is saying, what it's saying is it's making you aware. It's making you aware of how you are connecting to people in an intimate way, and whether or not those intimate connections are honoring your self-worth and your values. If there's not, then something needs to transform. This is where the revolution needs to take place. So, are you feeling valued in your intimate relationships? And if not, what do you need to revolutionize? Meaning, what do you need to do radically different than you've done in the past? Do you need to advocate for yourself in a way that's completely out of character for you? Do you need to give something more that is completely out of character to you? With Mercury's alignment with Neptune retrograde in Pisces, Neptune is a planetary ruler of Pisces. Neptune is at this final degree in Pisces from October 22nd to January 26th. The final degree. This is like, you can go back to the episode that I did around October 22nd where I talked about Neptune at this final degree, but this is helping us do the deep work. We can't ignore what we've been desperately trying to ignore for the last 13 years. What is it about yourself that you're hiding from? With Mercury in Scorpio retrograde and Neptune retrograde in Pisces, it's helping you, your relationships, your intimate bonds are helping you get to the depths of what's going on within yourself. What's going on within yourself that you're hiding from? That's reflected in your intimate relationships that you now cannot ignore, but you're still trying to. Are you ignoring it through drugs and alcohol, Netflix and chill, binge watching, doom scrolling, anything that you can do, video games to take your attention off of what you're ignoring in your intimate relationships? It's like I had to stop working this last week. The babies aren't here yet, but I'm like, I just have to focus on this. I have to focus on Gabriella. I have to focus on my wife and our impending births, and I can't think about anyone else right now. And I love my clients, especially my weekly clients. They're so special to me. But I can't focus. I can't give them the attention that I want to give them, that I need to give them, and focus my attention on, the impending births, and my wife, who is just incredible in everything that she is experiencing and growing through, and just doing it with such a sense of strength and power. Her attitude, her outlook, so brilliant. She's just so inspiring to me. I had to cancel my moon class this week. I didn't do a moon class in October because everyone says twins come early. So I was like, well, I don't want to do a moon class in October because the twins come early. And yeah, they didn't come. And I didn't do the moon class. I was like, they'll be here by November. And then November comes and it's like, no, they're not here. So I'm not going to do the moon class. I can't think about that right now. So moon classes are getting back up in December. If you want to enroll, it's at theweeklytransit.com. I'd love to see you in class where we can, get deep like this, talking about the moon, but what it would mean for all the different houses. So, I'm just using this as an example of, what are you ignoring in your intimate relationships that you can't ignore anymore? You have to focus your attention there right now. And especially with Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, transiting through Scorpio, aligning with the North Node retrograde in Pisces at 15 degrees. This is the Gemini degree. So it invites curiosity. Again, we're talking about planets in Scorpio and in Pisces. Or the North Node is not a planet, but it's a very powerful energy that is existing in Pisces right now. So we've talked about Mercury in Scorpio, and the Sun in Scorpio, and Neptune in Pisces, and now Venus in Scorpio, and the North Node in Pisces. So maybe if you're not sure about what you're ignoring in your relationship that you need to pay attention to, that's what this Venus in Scorpio trying the North Node retrograde in Pisces is about. When I say relationship, I say friend, lover, business partner, any relationship. You could say, I listened to this astrology podcast, and the guy on there was saying that we need to really focus on what's going on in the depths of ourselves that we've been ignoring, that we need to clear. And I was listening to that and I don't know if, I don't know what that is. This is where you can go to your friend, your lover, your business partner and say, is there anything that I'm ignoring? Do you see anything in me? Any sort of stagnation, any habit that I've cultivated? Do you feel like there's stagnation in our relationship? And they might say, well, I'm glad you brought this up. Or they might say, why are you listening to that astrology podcast? Who is this? Turn it off. Go someplace. Don't listen to that guy. Who knows? I don't know. Or maybe they say, wow, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because there is something I've been wanting to talk to you about. Oh, okay. Well, let's have that conversation. Because not only is Mercury bringing that conscious awareness to values, self-worth, and psychological baggage. And when I say psychological baggage, I'm talking about guilt, shame, regret, blame. But the Sun is also illuminating Mercury, illuminating self-worth and values through the opposition to Uranus, illuminating the psychological baggage with Neptune. I feel like it's going to be really, really hard to ignore this week. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. The reason why it's good is because it's helping dissolve or shed what is no longer serving you, so that your intimate relationships are reflecting your self-worth and values, so that your dreams are not nightmares, they're fantasies coming into fruition. Because you've integrated the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame with compassion, love, and forgiveness. You are not here to be punished. You are not here to suffer. That doesn't mean that you won't suffer. That doesn't mean that you won't feel punished. You will. You will. But that's not why you're here. It's like eating some garlic mashed potatoes and say, I came for the garlic. You came for the potato. That's why you're eating it. And the garlic adds that spice. Okay, I like that. Yeah. That's what the pain and suffering is. It might burn a little bit. It might hurt. It might hurt a lot. But that's what's meant to transform you. It's what's needed to transform you. It's what is, it's what is meant to push you through to the next phase. It's like the birthing process. Is it easy? Is it comfortable? No, it might be painful. It might hurt. But when you're done with it, oh, yes, we did it. Or for the men out there who can't relate to giving birth, maybe like a bowel movement. It might feel uncomfortable or even painful, but then when you're done, I'm a new man. I feel better. We need to go through the dark night of the soul right now. And it's going through that dark night of the soul and really going through it. I always think about that. I think of Lord of the Rings, it's such a great story. And it's great just on so many levels, but in the context that I'm thinking right now, it's just great in terms that it's easy to understand the dark night of the soul. It's like you got these hobbits that are on this journey. And it gets darker and darker and darker and more intense. And they want to go back to the Shire. But they can't. They can't turn around. And neither can you. There's no going back. There's no turning back now. There's no turning back. You can only go forward. And sometimes going forward is facing the most difficult, uncomfortable parts of yourself. And that leads us to the 11th transit of the week. We just whipped through 4 through 10. How'd that feel? The 11th transit of the week, the sun in Sagittarius. Because now the truth is revealed. From November 21st to December 21st, the truth is revealed. What do you want that truth to be? Do you want it to hurt? Or do you want it to set you free? Because if you're ignoring everything that we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes, then when the sun transits through Sagittarius, it might hurt. The truth might hurt. But if you've been doing the work that you've been called to do in this podcast by the energies that we've been describing, these cosmic energies, and you're going into those deep, difficult parts of yourself, you're diving to the bottom of the swamp, then when the sun moves through Sagittarius, the truth will set you free. It will set you free. Let's hope. That's the hope anyway. And Sagittarius is optimistic. It's the optimist. The sun transits through Sagittarius every year from November 21st, 22nd until December 21st, depending on what time and where you are in the world. This leads us to the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year for the folks in the northern hemisphere, where we're at the bottom of the mountain. We start climbing up. Sagittarius is the wildfire. When I think of the three fire signs, I think of Aries, cardinal fire. That's the spark that starts the fire. Leo, fixed fire. That's the fire that sustains. It's like you're at the campfire. And it's like, oh, it's warm. Let's buy this fire. It feels so good. And then Sagittarius comes, and that's the wildfire. It leaves the campsite and burns down everything. There's no hiding with Sagittarius. It's blunt. It's blunt. And it's so funny, like a week ago or so, the Pittsburgh Steelers had lost I think the Chargers, and there was a headline on ESPN that said Aaron Rodgers gives blunt assessment of his performance. And I thought that was funny because Aaron Rodgers, who's into astrology, he's a Sagittarius, Scorpio moon, Taurus rising, but Sagittarius is blunt. And with Mars and Mercury at the time in Sagittarius, they were conjunct. It's like, yeah, okay, blunt assessment. And they're using the language of Sagittarius on the ESPN website. Very interesting. But for those of you who are born with key astrological points in Virgo or Pisces, there's no hiding here. And the truth may be painful. You're being drawn out to see the big picture. If you're Virgo, you're wanting to hone in on the details, and not just people that are born with the sun in Virgo. If you have any planets in Virgo, if you have any planets in the 6th house, you've got that Virgo energy. There may be challenges during this period because you're so honed in on the details and you need to see the big picture. Pull out of the minutia. Pisces, maybe you're focused too much on everything that can go wrong rather than everything that can go right. It's time to take an optimistic view. And maybe the truth that you're seeing here is that you're your own worst enemy because you're just holding yourself back from all the amazing possibilities that are available to you. For those born with planets in the fire signs that I just mentioned, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, or the air signs, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini. Maybe this is a period where you're feeling lit up. You're excited. But there's a real mix of the energies here because we've got this fire with the sun in Sagittarius, but we've got all this water. So maybe it feels like we're in a hot tub that's getting a bit too hot, a bit too steamy. The water is a bit too hot. And that leads us to the 12th transit of the week, the 13th transit of the week as well. The 12th and the 13th transits, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, forming that Grand Trine that the sun just formed last week. Mercury's forming that same Grand Trine with Saturn retrograde in Pisces and Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. The transit with Mercury and Saturn is November 20th to the 23rd, Thursday to Sunday, with the exact trine occurring on Saturn Day, November 22nd. Mercury retrograde Scorpio trine Jupiter retrograde in Cancer is Friday to Monday, November 21st to the 24th, with the exact trine also occurring on Saturday, November 22nd. So this is just following up what the sun did the end of last week, the beginning of this week. We're getting this again. And this is what's so great about the planets is like they're not forcing you to figure things out in a day. They're giving you a transit. You've got 4 or 5 days to process it. It goes away, then it comes back in a different way. It's like you're hearing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony with a piano, and then you're hearing it with a violin. It's not the full symphony, maybe. It's just you're hearing the same song. The point is you're hearing the same song played on a different instrument. So in case you didn't get it the first time, now you're going to get it the second time. It's helping you wake up, to take responsibility for everything that goes on within your psyche, within your thought process, and to make peace with the past, to look back, to take an optimistic look at the past, to see the big picture, and to really hone in on where you're being drained by all the above within your intimate relationships. It's a great time to have those deep conversations, especially with the sun in Sagittarius, honesty, truth. And the funny thing is the final transit of the week is reflecting the first transit of the week, because the first transit of the week was Mercury in Sagittarius forming a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. And the last transit of the week is the sun in Sagittarius forming a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. So these two planets have crisscrossed, where at the end of last week, the beginning of this week, the sun was forming a Grand Trine from Scorpio with Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer. By the end of the week, Mercury is aligning at those points. Beginning of the week, Mercury was aligning with Pluto. The end of week, the sun is aligning with Pluto. So if you haven't gotten the truth yet, hit me up, please. I want to hear from you. And I want to hear from you if you are getting the truth and what is coming up from you. I really appreciate all the comments that I'm receiving on YouTube and Spotify. And if you want to leave a comment in general to support the podcast on Apple, iTunes, I really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me to hear from you. And to know that what we're sharing here on the podcast is supporting you through the week, because that is certainly my intention. So the sun is bringing that vital light to Sagittarius and forming the sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. This is Friday to Monday, November 21st to the 24th, with the exact sextile occurring on Sunday, the day of the sun, November 23rd. The truth is continuing to be revealed. It's a great time to be social. It's a great time to be around other people. It's a great time to have those deep conversations. And it's a great time to share the truth and to be open to the truth that is shared with you. As uncomfortable as it may be, let's do it with love. Let's do it with support. If there's anger there, let there be anger, but let's not stay in the anger. Let's clear the anger. Let's say, I'm angry about this. And if the person says, I'm sorry you're angry, I'm sorry if there's anything that I have done to hurt you or to make you feel that way. The person says, well, you didn't make me feel that way. It was the experience that made me feel that way. And you were a part of that experience. And so I've directed my anger at you, and I recognize that now. And yeah, I'm glad it's all out in the open. I'm so glad we were able to have this conversation. I feel free. I feel relieved. It's out in the open. Now I know not to do that to you. Now I know not to say that. Now I know how I can adjust my behavior, because it's never my intention to hurt you. Maybe unconsciously it is, and that's some work I need to do within myself. Because you remind me of my dad or my mom, and they hurt me when I was a child. And I know they didn't mean to, or maybe they did, or I don't even know. Whatever the circumstance was. They were suffering, they were afraid, they dropped that pain on me. I needed to protect myself from that, so that's what I've done. You remind me of them. I didn't even realize that until right now. But yeah, I lashed out at you in a subtle way, and I apologize for that. This is how we can talk to each other. It's not easy. My God. It's so easy for me to just talk about this on the podcast and say, yeah, just do this. But it's not that easy. It takes work. The good news is the planets are supporting you to do that work right now. You are being supported to do this deep work. Now, that leads us to the Substack essay of the week. I want to thank everyone who has subscribed to my Substack, who has subscribed to my email list. I want to thank everyone out there who has subscribed to the paid subscription of my Substack. I want to apologize to everyone who is a paid subscriber. I wasn't able to get out the exclusive content this last week. I'm hoping to this next week. And I'm also going to send an email to all of you to let you know about how you can sign up for my moon cycle classes with the $8 discount. I would love to see you in my moon cycle classes. The revolutionary dream at the final degree. Uranus sextile Neptune at 29 degrees. When innovation meets vision at the threshold. On November 20th, 2025, Uranus, the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, innovation, and the unexpected, forms an exact sextile with Neptune, the god of the sea, the planet of dreams, illusion, and the unconscious. Uranus stands at 29 degrees Taurus, the fixed earth sign ruled by Venus, the final degree before entering Gemini. Neptune stands at 29 degrees Pisces, the mutable water sign ruled by Jupiter and Neptune itself, the final degree before entering Aries, both at 29 degrees, the anaretic degree, the crisis of completion, the last breath before crossing, both at the Leo degree, sovereign creative authority, the heart's declaration, the artist who says, "This is what I came to make real." Both retrograde, not initiating, but completing, turning inward, reviewing the work of years, asking, what did we learn? What are we taking forward? What gets left behind? This is not just any transit. This is the final reckoning. Uranus retrograded back into Taurus on November 7th, 2025, and won't leave again until April 25th, 2026. Then gone for 76 years, not returning until April 25th, 2102. Neptune retrograded back into Pisces on October 22nd, 2025. It won't leave again until January 26th, 2026. Then gone for 149 years, not returning until March 19th, 2175. This is the last time these planets speak from these signs in our lifetimes. From November 7th to January 26th, they hold this sextile. Uranus retrograding back to 27 degrees, while Neptune stations at 29 degrees, both asking the same question. What did we learn? What are we taking forward? What gets left behind? This configuration occurs 3 days after the Grand Trine in water asks, do we have the courage to answer differently? The Grand Trine demands the warrior's courage to begin. The Sextile demands the artist's authority to create. The sextile is the aspect of opportunity, but opportunity requires choice. It doesn't happen to you. You must reach for it. And they've done this before. 2 precedents, same question. Only twice in nearly 4,000 years have Uranus in Taurus and Neptune in Pisces formed sustained sextiles while moving through these signs. 1684, the peak of absolute monarchy, seeds planted that exploded 4 years later in the Glorious Revolution. 1853 to 1856, the Crimean War. Florence Nightingale's data revolution. Bleeding Kansas and the birth of the Republican Party. Each time the configuration asked, what revolutionary dream is dying or being born? Each time institutions appeared unshakable, then failed from within. Each time people were forced to decide what truth is, what authority means, who belongs. Each time new political realities emerged from collapse. 1684, when belief became the battlefield. March 29th, 1684, Uranus at 0 degrees Taurus, Neptune at 0 degrees Pisces. The seed moment. Both planets freshly entered into their signs. Louis XIV, the Sun King, stood at the height of his power. He declared, "L'état, c'est moi." I am the state. That year, France forced Spain to sign the Truce of Ratisbonne. Luxembourg, Strasbourg, fortified positions across the Rhineland, all recognized as French conquests. The War of Reunions proved French military supremacy. Europe had no choice but to submit. This was Uranus in Taurus at 0 degrees, revolution manifesting as material conquest, the radical idea that one man could embody absolute authority, made physically real through armies and stone fortresses. This was Neptune in Pisces at 0 degrees, the collective dream of divine monarchy, the illusion that God himself had chosen this king, the spiritual justification for total submission to royal will. Europe submitted. The illusion was seamless. Power is divine. Authority is unquestionable. But Neptune dissolves illusions. Within a year, Louis XIV revoked the Edict of Nantes. 200,000 to 400,000 Huguenot Protestants fled France, carrying stories of persecution, forced conversions, state violence, sanctioned as God's will. Protestant Europe watched, horrified. William of Orange understood. If divine monarchy becomes the unquestioned norm, all consent dies. When James II ascended the English throne in 1685 and attempted the same model, Parliament resisted. William crossed the North Sea with an army. James fled. The crown transferred, but only after limits to power were written into law. The Glorious Revolution of 1688 established a new principle. Monarchy is not absolute. Parliament can depose a king. Authority is granted by consent and can be withdrawn. When belief withdraws, power collapses. This was the seed planted at 0 degrees in 1684. The revolutionary idea that authority comes from the people, not from God. But it would take 172 years and another exact sextile for that seed to grow into something that could challenge the old order at scale. 1853 to 1856, when evidence could no longer be ignored. Between August 1853 and April 1856, Uranus and Neptune formed 7 exact sextiles as they moved from 11 degrees to 19 degrees, each degree coloring how the revolutionary dream manifested. It began at 12 degrees, the Pisces degree, in August 1853. Disillusion and compassion, just as Florence Nightingale accepted her position as superintendent of the Institution for the Care of Sick Gentlewomen in London. Unaware, she'd soon witness the complete collapse of military medical systems. By October, the sextile moved to 11 degrees, the Aquarius degree, revolutionary vision, and the Ottoman Empire declared war on Russia. Within months, Britain and France would join. New technologies would revolutionize warfare itself. Railways moving troops at unprecedented speed, telegraph wires transmitting orders in real time, battlefield photography documenting carnage for the first time. The Crimean War. In November 1854, Florence Nightingale arrived at Scutari Barracks Hospital in Constantinople with 38 nurses. What she found was apocalyptic. Thousands of wounded soldiers packed into overcrowded wards. Rats and lice everywhere. Raw sewage. No medicine. No supplies. No beds. Men dying by the hundreds. Not from battle wounds, but from chlorella, typhus, typhoid, dysentery, preventable diseases. 10 times more soldiers died from infection than from combat. In July 1854, at 15 degrees, the Gemini degree, communication revolution. War correspondent William Howard Russell of the Times sent the first real-time dispatches from the front lines via telegraph. The British public read about the suffering, the incompetence, the preventable deaths. Information became weapon. Public outrage forced government action. December brought the sextile to 13 degrees, the Aries degree, courageous initiation, as Nightingale began her work in earnest, not pleading, not waiting, acting. She didn't just provide care, she collected data. She recorded death rates, causes of death, sanitary conditions. She created the first ever statistical analysis of military mortality. By June 1855 at 18 degrees, the Virgo degree, service made systematic. She was creating something unprecedented. The coxcomb diagram that would force the world to see truth through the eyes. When she returned to England in 1856, she brought her evidence. Blue wedges showing deaths from preventable disease. Red wedges showing deaths from wounds. The diagram proved undeniably that institutional neglect killed more soldiers than enemy fire. She designed it, she wrote, to, quote, affect through the eyes, that we may fail to convey to the brains of the public through their word-proof ears. End quote. It worked. She presented her findings to Queen Victoria, to Parliament, to the Royal Commission on the Health of the Army. Within years, military medical care was revolutionized. Sanitation became standard. Nursing became a respected profession. The Nightingale Training School opened in 1860. This was Uranus in Taurus, innovation in material systems, Sextile Neptune in Pisces, compassionate vision for collective healing, truth made visible, compassion made systematic, a dream made real through evidence. Bleeding Kansas. The cycle completed at 16 degrees, the Cancer degree, home and belonging under threat. In February 1856, at 19 degrees, the Libra degree, justice and moral balance. In April, just as America tore itself apart over the question at the heart of this configuration: who belongs? On May 30th, President Franklin Pierce signed the Kansas-Nebraska Act into law, legislation crafted by Senator Stephen A. Douglas of Illinois, who believed popular sovereignty could solve the slavery question. The act repealed the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which had prohibited slavery north of the 36th parallel, and letting settlers in Kansas and Nebraska vote on whether to allow slavery. Douglas thought he was creating a pragmatic compromise. Instead, he ignited a war. Pro-slavery border ruffians from Missouri flooded Kansas to rig elections. Anti-slavery Jayhawks from the east arrived determined to make Kansas free. Both sides brought guns. Bleeding Kansas erupted. Years of violence, voter fraud, guerrilla warfare over the question: does this person belong? Can they live here? Are they free or enslaved? In 1856, abolitionist John Brown murdered 5 pro-slavery settlers with a broadsword in the Potawatomi Massacre. The violence became national crisis. The Kansas-Nebraska Act destroyed the Whig Party. From its ruins, the Republican Party was born in 1854, united by one principle: opposition to slavery's expansion. Within 6 years, that party would elect Abraham Lincoln. Within 7, the Civil War would begin. 7 degrees, 7 inflection points, 7 moments where innovation and vision aligned. If someone was brave enough to reach for it. The thread. Both cycles asked, what revolutionary dream is dying or being born? In 1684, the dream of absolute monarchy reached its zenith, then cracked. The Glorious Revolution proved kings could be overthrown. That authority required consent. 1853 to 1856, the dream of technological progress met the nightmare of institutional incompetence. Florence Nightingale proved that evidence could challenge authority, that data properly visualized could force systematic change. Meanwhile, America's dream of unity shattered over who belongs. Both cycles involved new technology revolutionizing warfare and communication, institutional authority collapsing under its own corruption, violent conflicts over territory and belonging, evidence and information challenging established power, new political structures born from the ruins of the old. November 2025, the completion at 29 degrees. We now arrive at the final degree, the anaretic degree, the crisis of completion. 29 degrees is the Leo degree, sovereign creative authority, the heart's declaration, the artist who says, "This is what I came to make real." Uranus at 29 degrees Taurus says, the revolution in what we value, what we own, what we consider stable. This is its final form before the great crossing. Neptune at 29 degrees Pisces says, the collective dream, the spiritual longing, the disillusion of boundaries. This is the final expression before rebirth into fire. From November 7th, 2025 to January 26, 2026, these two planets hold the sextile, both retrograde, both completing, both asking. What did we learn? What are we taking forward? What gets left behind? Look around at November 2025. Institutional authority is collapsing. Media fragmented into insular echo chambers. Political institutions losing legitimacy as trust evaporates. Religious institutions bleeding members and moral authority. Scientific expertise dismissed or weaponized. Educational systems questioned as indoctrination. Technology promised liberation, delivered complexity. AI threatening creative professions. Algorithms replacing judgment. The internet, once promised as democratizing, now operates as surveillance and radicalization. Belonging is becoming violent again. Mass migration. Walls built while people keep crossing. Identity politics fracturing nations. The question, who belongs, asked with increasing rage. Evidence is contested. Do your own research becomes the shield against accountability, a way to make claims without showing the work. Reality itself debated, data dismissed when it contradicts belief. Old answers cannot hold the world as it is. The sextile offers a choice: reinvent or collapse under what is ending. What's dying? What's being born? What's dying? The illusion that institutions will save us. The assumption that the truth is centrally defined. The expectation that belonging is guaranteed by birthright. The dream that technology makes life simpler. What's being born? The tools to revolutionize how we create, communicate, organize, if we choose. Decentralized forms of power and coordination. Community-based belonging instead of national identity. Creative sovereignty. Individuals shaping meaning. Data-driven models of care and systematic reform. New myths that unify rather than divide. The world is already changing. The question is, will you shape it or be shaped by it? The questions at 29 degrees. On November 20th, 2025, when Uranus and Neptune form their exact sextile at the final degree, both retrograde, both completing their journeys through signs they won't occupy again in our lifetimes, You will be asked, what revolutionary dream am I brave enough to make real? What innovation serves the vision I actually believe in, not the one I've been told to want? What material systems must I revolutionize to align with spiritual truth? What evidence do I have that the old way is dying, and what am I willing to create in its place? Who do I say belongs, and am I brave enough to act as if that's true? What will I make with the tools I have, technology, information, networks, resources that reflect the sovereign authority of my own creative heart? This is the Leo degree. Not permission, not consensus, sovereign creative authority. You answer not with words, but with choices, with action, with what you build. The sextile is an aspect of potential, but potential unrealized dies at the threshold. The pattern returns. 172 years ago, Florence Nightingale walked hospital corridors by lantern light, collecting data in the darkness. She proved that compassion could be measured, that evidence could force change, that light doesn't just confront, it reveals what must be healed. 341 years ago, William of Orange sailed across the North Sea in November with an army, risking everything to prove that power belongs to the people, not the throne. Both activated the sextile. Both made the revolutionary dream real. Now the question returns for the last time in our lifetimes. What will you create between now and January 26, 2026? This is the last time Uranus and Neptune meet here. No repetition, no rewind, no second offering. The threshold is here. The dream is ending. The new world awaits. Will you reach for it? I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope this message empowers you through the week ahead. I thank you for spending your time with me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you next week. Thank you for listening to the weekly transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.